The evil eye, known in Arabic as ayin, is a reality that many people overlook or dismiss as superstition. However, in Islam, it is something deeply rooted in our tradition, something our beloved Prophet Muhammad not only warned us about, but also gave us solutions for. He said very clearly, "The evil eye is real." Sahih Muslim. This isn't a matter of opinion, it is a confirmed truth from the words of the final messenger of Allah. When we say the evil eye is real, we mean that there is a type of spiritual harm that can befall a person or a household due to the envy or admiration of others, even from those close to us, sometimes unintentionally. This form of harm isn't always malicious. The evil eye can even come from someone who loves you, who admires you, who compliments you, but forgets to mention the name of Allah. That is why we are taught to say MashaAllah or Tabarakallah when we see something we like, whether it belongs to us or someone else. This small phrase invites barakah, the blessing of Allah, and protects the object or person of admiration from the harmful energy of envy or jealousy. It's not about being suspicious of everyone, it's about being mindful and spiritually aware. In today's world, this becomes even more relevant. We live in an age of social media where people display every aspect of their lives, their homes, children, cars, travels, even their meals. While some do this innocently, it can often expose one's blessings to those who might be envious, knowingly or unknowingly. And when that envy is accompanied by a heart that lacks remembrance of Allah, the evil eye can strike. Is not something visible like a physical wound or illness, it's spiritual, and it seeps in silently. Sometimes, without warning, things begin to go wrong. A family that was once united starts arguing. A child that was always healthy suddenly becomes ill. A business that was thriving starts crumbling. Of course, not every hardship is due to the evil eye, but it is one of the possibilities that the Prophet asked us to be aware of. Some may wonder, how can a simple look or thought cause harm? The truth is, this is not about the physical look. It's about the energy, the spiritual impact of jealousy or unchecked admiration. Allah created a system in which both physical and non-physical forces have effects. Just like we don't see Wi-Fi signals or the wind, but believe in their effects. The evil eye works in the unseen, but its signs can be deeply felt in our lives. The evil eye affects not only individuals but can also impact entire households. Sometimes a peaceful home is overtaken by constant tension, arguments, laziness in prayer, depression, or even strange illnesses that medical doctors can't diagnose. Often people feel something is off, but they can't put their finger on it. This is where understanding the teachings of Islam becomes essential. Knowledge is protection. When we know that the Prophet has acknowledged the evil eye and even performed ruqyah, spiritual treatment, for its protection, we become more proactive in guarding ourselves and our families. In a narration from Imam Ahmad, the Prophet said, "If there was anything that could precede the divine decree, it would be the evil eye." This shows how powerful it can be. But it also reminds us that nothing occurs without the will of Allah. And that's the beauty of our faith. Even if harm is real, Allah has given us the tools to combat it. He has not left us defenseless. Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Naas were revealed precisely for this purpose, to seek refuge in Allah from all spiritual harms, including the evil eye, jealousy, and black magic. The evil eye can enter a home through many gateways, not just through people physically entering the space, but also through photos, videos, conversations, or even the objects that carry the energy of someone's envy. That is why the believer is always advised to keep their private blessings private, to maintain the remembrance of Allah in their homes, and to adorn their hearts with gratitude rather than boastfulness. Remember, Islam is a religion that teaches balance. We are not taught to live in fear of people's eyes or suspicion of everyone we meet. No, rather, we are taught to live with faith, with action, and with dua. We take the means by guarding our blessings, doing our morning and evening adhkar, reciting the last two surahs of the Quran, and placing our trust fully in Allah. For if He protects us, there is no force in the heavens or the earth that can harm us. Spiritual awareness in the home is one of the most important aspects of living a healthy and balanced Islamic life, yet it is often the most neglected. Many people focus on physical cleanliness, decor, comfort, and luxury within the home, but forget to tend to the spiritual atmosphere. Just like a home can be clean on the outside but polluted by toxic air inside, a household can look perfect externally, but be filled with unseen negativity, restlessness, or even spiritual harm. Islam places great emphasis on the importance of a home being a place of sakina, tranquility, mercy, and peace. But when this tranquility is absent without any obvious reason, we must ask ourselves, is something deeper affecting the environment of our home? Sometimes the signs of spiritual disturbance are subtle but consistent. You might find that the members of the household are always irritable, arguing over small matters, or feeling unusually lazy and unmotivated. There may be a sudden decline in acts of worship. People who once prayed regularly now struggle to even make wudu. Children become withdrawn or overly rebellious, or there's a heavy atmosphere that no one can quite explain. These may not always be signs of psychological or emotional issues. Sometimes they are signs that a home is no longer spiritually protected. In many cases, the evil eye enters not just the individual, but penetrates the very environment they live in. A home that was once full of laughter suddenly becomes quiet and tense. Relationships suffer, finances begin to dwindle without reason. Illnesses that doctors cannot explain begin to afflict the family. It's easy to dismiss these signs as mere coincidence or stress, but when they persist and accumulate, a spiritually aware believer must stop and reflect. Allah teaches us in the Quran that there is a world beyond the physical, the unseen, Gahab, and that part of our faith is to believe in it and protect ourselves from its harms through His guidance. Our homes are meant to be our safe havens. They are not just places to sleep, eat, and rest. They are places where hearts are nurtured, faith is developed, and love is shared. If a spiritual darkness or disturbance enters the home, it affects every one of these things. That is why the Prophet emphasized the importance of bringing remembrance of Allah into the home. He said, "Do not turn your houses into graves. Verily, Satan flees from a house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited." Sahih Muslim. This shows that our homes can either invite peace or repel it, depending on what is practiced within them. When a home is filled with remembrance of Allah, angels descend and shayateen flee. But when a home is silent of Quran, void of dua, and busy with worldly noise, it becomes a place where negative energy can linger. This does not mean that every hardship or moment of tension is caused by spiritual harm. But it does mean that we, as Muslims, should be aware that these things exist and can influence the atmosphere of our homes. Awareness is not paranoia, it is protection. It is being conscious that we live in both a physical and spiritual reality, and both must be maintained. Sadly, many people today live in beautiful houses with expensive furniture, state-of-the-art technology, and all the comforts of the modern world, but spiritually, their homes are empty. There is no regular prayer, no Quran recitation, no adhkar, and no mention of Allah except during hardship. When a house becomes spiritually dry, it becomes vulnerable. And it doesn't take much for something like the evil eye to take root. All it takes is one unguarded moment, a guest who admires without saying MashaAllah, a social media post that draws envy, or a conversation where someone hears of your blessings and feels resentment. If there is no spiritual defense in place, that negativity can enter and settle. The good news is that just as the harm can enter, it can also be removed. Allah has given us tools: prayer, supplication, Quran, and above all, Tawheed, pure faith in Him alone. A spiritually aware household is not a perfect household. It's not one without problems or arguments, but it is one where, when problems arise, the people turn to Allah. It's a home where even in times of struggle, the family knows where to find healing. We must train ourselves and our children to be spiritually alert, to recognize when things feel off, and to respond with remembrance. Teach children the importance of saying Bismillah when entering the home, saying MashaAllah when they see something beautiful, and reading their morning and evening adgar. These are not empty rituals. They are shields, they are light, and they invite Allah's protection into the home. The evil eye can strike anyone, but the spiritually aware believer is never unprepared. He is always turning to Allah, guarding his home, not only with locks and alarms, but with the constant remembrance of the Most Powerful, the one who sees all that is hidden. There are certain signs that may indicate the presence of the evil eye in a home. While not every hardship or unusual event should be attributed to it, Islam teaches us to be observant and spiritually conscious. The Prophet Muhammad acknowledged that the evil eye is real and that it can cause real harm. So, if a home is experiencing ongoing, unexplained difficulties, especially after a visible blessing has been received or displayed, it is wise to reflect and consider whether the evil eye may be a contributing factor. This isn't to promote paranoia, but rather to encourage awareness and prompt the use of Islamic remedies. One common sign is the sudden onset of illness that has no medical explanation. A healthy family member, perhaps a child or a parent, might suddenly fall sick with fatigue, headaches, or other symptoms that seem to have no medical root. They may go from being energetic and active to withdrawn and constantly unwell. When doctors run tests and find nothing physically wrong, but the symptoms persist, it's worth exploring whether this might be a spiritual issue. The evil eye can manifest physically, draining a person's energy or affecting their emotions and mental well-being. Another major sign is tension and conflict within the household. A home that once experienced harmony may suddenly become a place of constant arguments and misunderstandings. Spouses may begin to argue over trivial matters, children may become disobedient, and overall communication may break down. The love and understanding that once filled the home might vanish, replaced by irritation and frustration. This change can be especially suspicious if it follows a time of public praise, admiration, or exposure of your family's blessings. Sometimes it's a result of someone who has seen your happiness but failed to say MashaAllah, and unknowingly their admiration became a source of harm. Financial strain without logical cause can also be a sign. A family that once enjoyed financial stability may suddenly face difficulties. Income may start disappearing, unexpected expenses might pile up, or business deals that were once smooth may begin to collapse. This can occur right after someone notices or praises your success. Of course, economic hardship can happen to anyone, but when it comes out of nowhere and continues despite effort and planning, it is worth considering whether spiritual interference could be involved. The evil eye, especially when driven by envy, often targets what others value the most: health, wealth, and relationships. Another sign is the presence of a heavy or negative atmosphere in the home. This can be hard to explain but easy to feel. There may be a sense of darkness, heaviness, or discomfort in certain parts of the house. Sometimes family members don't want to be home. They prefer to spend time elsewhere because the house no longer feels peaceful or inviting. Visitors may even mention it subtly, saying things like, "Your house feels different," or "something feels off." Nightmares, especially among children, can also increase. In some cases, family members may begin to have disturbing dreams, see shadowy figures, or wake up feeling choked or frightened. These could be signs that negative energy has entered the home, possibly through the evil eye. Lack of motivation for acts of worship is also significant. When the evil eye strikes, it can affect a person's spiritual state. You may find it increasingly difficult to focus during prayer or even to perform your daily prayers at all. Recitation of the Quran may feel burdensome, and remembrance of Allah may become neglected. This spiritual laziness is not ordinary. It can feel as if there is a barrier between you and acts of worship. When the entire household begins to drift away from their deen, especially after being strong in faith, it may indicate a spiritual attack, and the evil eye is one possibility. Recognizing these signs does not mean we jump to conclusions or blame specific people. Islam teaches balance, not fear. However, when several of these signs occur simultaneously, especially after a moment of public success or blessing, it is wise to reflect and begin taking spiritual measures. The Prophet taught us to seek protection from the evil eye through specific du'as and daily adkar. Reciting Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas, especially in the mornings and evenings, offers protection from all kinds of unseen harm. The home should be filled with the remembrance of Allah, and the hearts of its residents should remain connected to Him. In summary, the evil eye may enter the home and reveal itself through physical illness, emotional unrest, financial loss, spiritual laziness, and overall tension. While these signs do not guarantee its presence, they serve as reminders to always stay spiritually vigilant. The solution is not to live in fear, but to live in remembrance. When a believer keeps their trust in Allah, protects their home through dua, Quran, and sincerity, then even if the evil eye does strike, its effect will be limited, and Allah will send His help and healing in ways beyond our imagination. The evil eye does not enter a home randomly. Islam teaches us that everything happens by the will of Allah, but He has also given us reasons and causes that lead to certain outcomes. One of the most important ways to protect our homes is by understanding how spiritual harm can enter in the first place. When we understand the entry points of the evil eye, we can begin to close those doors and safeguard our families. Prevention is always better than cure, and in spiritual matters, awareness is protection. One major entry point of the evil eye is the absence of adhkar, the daily remembrance of Allah. When we do not make it a habit to recite our morning and evening supplications, we leave ourselves and our homes spiritually unguarded. The Prophet Muhammad taught us comprehensive du'as for protection, du'as that serve as shields against envy, jinn, and the evil eye. These include the morning and evening adhkar, Ayat al-Kurs, and the Mu'awdhatain, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah An-Nas. When we are consistent in these, angels are sent to protect us. But when we forget or neglect these daily practices, the spiritual doors of our homes remain open and unguarded. Just as you wouldn't leave your front door open at night, you shouldn't leave your spiritual doors open during the day. Another common entry point is the public display of blessings, especially through social media. In our time, this is one of the most dangerous avenues for the evil eye to strike. People often post pictures of their families, homes, weddings, children, vacations, and even meals without considering the consequences. Not everyone who sees your photos will say MashaAllah. Some might envy your life, even unintentionally. Envy is not always filled with hatred. Sometimes it's just a deep wish from someone who feels deprived or insecure. But that emotion, when not checked with remembrance of Allah, can result in the evil eye. It's not about blaming others. It's about being responsible with how we share our blessings. The Prophet once saw a man who was suffering from the evil eye, and he asked if someone had looked at him with admiration. When the answer was yes, the Prophet instructed that the person who gave the admiring look perform ghusl, and the water be poured over the afflicted man. This shows that even the admiration of a good person can cause harm if not accompanied by dos and remembrance. Today, when hundreds or thousands of people look at your photos online, many of them strangers, what protection are you putting in place? We must learn to practice hikmah, wisdom, in what we share. Not every blessing needs to be brought. Another way the evil eye can enter a home is through jealousy from those within our close circles. While we may think of strangers or outsiders as the source, often the most harmful envy comes from people who are close to us, family, friends, or acquaintances. This doesn't mean we should live in fear or suspicion of others, but we must be wise. When someone constantly praises your child, your spouse, or your home, kindly remind them to say, MashaAllah. The Prophet encouraged this. It's not rude, it's Islamic. Teach your children as well to respond with remembrance of Allah when they see something beautiful in others or themselves. Lack of modesty and privacy within the household can also be a factor. Sometimes people unknowingly invite the evil eye by not covering private matters. Intimacy, family issues, financial gains, these are not meant to be discussed or shown openly. Islam teaches modesty in behavior and conversation. When we turn our private lives into public entertainment, we reduce the spiritual protection around our home. Blessings are meant to be cherished and safeguarded, not flaunted. Even in joyful occasions, like weddings or births, we are encouraged to be modest and to invoke the name of Allah. Finally, the evil eye may enter a home through the neglect of Islamic routines and values. A home where Quran is rarely recited, where Salah is abandoned, where television, music, or idle talk fills the space, is a home that slowly weakens its spiritual defenses. Shaitan seeks out such homes to influence, but a home that is filled with the remembrance of Allah, with Quran, prayer, and sincerity, becomes a fortress. This doesn't mean you must live a life of isolation, but it does mean making conscious choices about how your home is run and what kind of environment you allow. Ultimately, the evil eye is a test, but Allah has not left us without solutions. If we pay attention to the causes, such as neglecting atka, oversharing our blessings, and lacking modesty, we can begin to take action. Protecting your home is not just about locking your doors. It's about strengthening the spiritual walls with remembrance, dua, and reliance on Allah. When your home is spiritually protected, no matter how much people see or say, their eyes cannot harm what Allah has shielded. Trust in Him, follow the Sunnah, and your home will be a place of light, mercy, and divine protection. When it comes to protecting ourselves and our homes from the evil eye, Islam offers practical and powerful solutions. Allah, in His infinite mercy, never leaves the believer without guidance. He has taught us through His book and through the Sunnah of His Prophet how to safeguard ourselves from unseen harms. The evil eye, while real, is not something to be feared when a Muslim is spiritually equipped. The first and most essential step in protection is turning back to Allah. When our reliance is on Him and our hearts are connected through constant remembrance, no harm can overpower the protection granted by the Almighty. A primary form of protection is the recitation of the daily adhkar, or remembrances. These include the morning and evening supplications taught by the Prophet, Dakatha. These are not just routines, they are shields. They serve as a spiritual armor that guards the believer from harm, both seen and unseen. Among them is the beautiful dua, Bismillahi la yahuduru ma'asmihi shay'un fil ardi wala fi samai wa huwa asamyul alim. In the name of Allah, with whose name nothing in the heavens or earth can cause harm, and He is the all-hearing, the all-knowing. Reciting this 3 times in the morning and evening is a powerful means of protection. These small acts may seem simple, but their impact in the unseen world is profound. The Prophet also taught us to recite Surah Al-Falah and Surah An-Nas regularly. These 2 surahs are known as the Mu'awwidhatain, the chapters of seeking refuge. They were revealed specifically as protection from the evil of the envious, from black magic, and from the whispers of shayateen. The Prophet would recite them before sleeping and blow over his body, and he instructed his companions to do the same. Teaching our children these habits from a young age is vital. They may not understand the depth of what they are doing, but their souls benefit, and the routine becomes ingrained. Another powerful verse is Ayat al-Kursi from Surah Al-Baqarah. The Prophet said that whoever recites it after every obligatory prayer is under the protection of Allah until the next prayer. He also mentioned that when it is recited before sleeping, no shaitan will come near until morning. Imagine the strength of that verse, the depth of its protection. It is not merely words, it is divine security for the believer who places their trust in Allah. In addition to recitation, the Prophet taught us the use of specific du'as for when we fear the evil eye. When someone sees something they admire, whether in themselves or others, they should say, Masha'Allah, or Barakh Allahu lak. These words are not just good manners, they are forms of spiritual etiquette that prevent harm. If someone compliments without invoking Allah's name, that could unintentionally cause the evil eye to strike. So, when you see something beautiful, remember to say, Mashallah, Tabarakallah. When you receive a compliment, respond with Alhamdulillah. Keep the name of Allah flowing on your tongue, and you will see its protection manifest. The Prophet would also perform ruqyah, a form of spiritual healing, when someone was afflicted. He would recite over them, blow gently, and seek Allah's refuge. We are encouraged to do the same. Ruqyah can be done by the afflicted person themselves or by a righteous family member. It involves reciting verses of the Quran, du'as of the Prophet, and asking Allah for healing and protection. There is no need for strange rituals or practices outside the Sunnah. The cure is already given to us through divine revelation. Another crucial form of protection is guarding what we expose to the world. Keep your blessings private. You don't need to share every detail of your life online or even with close friends. Some things are best kept between you and Allah. When you do share, make it a habit to remind others to say Masha'Allah or say it yourself. Protect your home by regularly playing the Quran aloud, especially Surah Al-Baqarah. The Prophet said, Satan does not enter the house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited. You do not need to be perfect in recitation, just sincere. Lastly, always return to tawakkul, placing your full trust in Allah. Protection does not come from words alone, it comes from the heart's reliance on the Protector. When you believe that Allah is sufficient for you, that He is the one who controls all harm and benefit, you will sleep peacefully even when storms surround you. Do your part, recite, remember, act, and leave the rest to the one whose protection never fails. The evil eye is real, but the mercy of Allah is far greater. When we talk about protecting our homes from the evil eye, we must understand that prevention is just one side of the coin. The other side is healing and spiritual cleansing. If you suspect that your home has already been affected through strange tensions, unexplained illnesses, or a sudden change in the atmosphere, then it becomes essential to engage in regular spiritual cleansing of the home. Islam provides us with powerful tools for this purpose, and these practices are not based on superstition or cultural rituals. They are grounded in the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. One of the most powerful means of cleansing the home is the recitation of Surah Al-Baqarah. The Prophet said, "Do not turn your houses into graves. Verily, Shaitan does not enter a house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited." This is a clear and profound instruction. Reciting or playing Surah Al-Baqarah in your home regularly drives away negative energy and shayateen. It is not necessary to recite the entire surah in one sitting. It can be broken into parts and recited over days. You can also play it aloud from a Quran app recording with the intention of cleansing the space. The sound of the Quran has a deep effect on the unseen, and it brings tranquility and blessings into the home. Along with Surah Al-Baqarah, regular recitation of the Mu'awwidhatayn, Surah Al-Falaq, and Surah An-Nasas is essential. These two surahs were revealed specifically for protection against envy, evil eye, magic, and all harmful entities. Recite them over yourself, your children, and every corner of the home. Blow gently after reciting, and wipe over your body and your loved ones. The Prophet would do this every night before sleeping. If he, the most protected of all, did this regularly, how much more do we need it? Another powerful practice is making ruqya over the home. Ruqya is not a complex ritual. It simply involves reciting verses from the Quran and du'as of the Prophet with the intention of healing and protection. Surahs like Al-Fatiha, Ayat Al-Kursi, and the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah are highly effective. Walk around the home reciting these verses with sincerity, focusing especially on corners, doorways, and places that feel heavy or uncomfortable. Open the windows while doing this to allow fresh air and light to enter. The presence of natural light and clean air also has a subtle but positive effect on the atmosphere of the home. An often neglected part of cleansing is the removal of any haram or questionable items from the home. Shayatin and harmful energies are attracted to homes that are filled with impermissible content, whether it's music, inappropriate images, statues, or even books and movies that contain dark or evil themes. Clearing the home of these elements is like purifying the heart. It removes spiritual toxins and allows light to enter. If a television constantly broadcasts things that promote immorality, if phones are filled with images or songs that displease Allah, then it's no surprise the atmosphere of the home becomes heavy and uninviting. Another cleansing practice is the regular use of adhan in the house. The call to prayer is not only a reminder for salah, it is a declaration of Allah's greatness and oneness. The Prophet said that when the adhan is called, the devils flee. Call the adhan in your home daily, even if it's just once. If your children are present, let them hear it. Let your home be filled with the sound of Allah's name. The more His name is mentioned in a place, the less room there is for evil to reside. Also, engage in istighfar and tawbah as a household. Sin brings darkness, even unknowingly. When a family collectively turns to Allah in repentance and asks for forgiveness, That sincerity becomes a source of mercy. Sit together and make dua. Ask Allah to remove every trace of evil from your home, to fill your hearts with peace and your house with barakah. When the home becomes a place where Allah is remembered consistently, angels are drawn to it and shayateen are repelled. Lastly, one of the most beautiful ways to cleanse your home is by praying in it. The Prophet advised us not to turn our homes into graves by only praying in the masjid and never at home. Praying sunnah and nafil prayers in the home fills it with light. The suhood, the recitation, the whispers of dua, all of these bring a spiritual fragrance that evil cannot bear. Let the walls of your home witness your connection to Allah. Let your home echo with Allahu Akbar, Subhan Allah, and Alhamdulillah. Spiritual cleansing is not about fear, it is about faith. It is about taking responsibility for the environment you live in and filling it with the presence of Allah. When your home is purified, protected, and filled with remembrance, then even if the evil eye tries to enter, it will find no room.